What's up, everybody? Hope you're having an amazing day. AJ Casada, co-founder of Revenue Boost, where we help agencies and B2B companies get more leads and scale. And I'm very excited for this walkthrough today because today I'm going to walk through 24 creative outbound ideas you can launch using AI. So if you're not already using outreach or any form of outbound to get clients for your business, you're going to love this. You're going to love this walkthrough because you're going to kind of just get ideas to see what's possible, what might work in your niche. And if you already are doing outbound, you're already getting clients from cold email, LinkedIn, or other channels. You're going to really get some cool advanced ideas on how to step up your game using AI and Clay. And Clay is pretty much the most popular, newest development in the outbound space in terms of, it's the biggest way that people are able to easily incorporate AI into their outreach process. And it's super cool. But I know that there's, if you've tried the tool yet, you'll see that there's a million things you can do with it. It's kind of hard to, there's a little bit of a learning curve. It's kind of hard to see how you should use it for your business. So I wanted to, make this list here just to show how what's possible and what are some real life business use cases. So these are examples of creative outbound campaigns we're running for our clients, things I've seen other people do that I think are pretty cool, or just some random ideas I came up with some pretty common niches where I think this would work pretty well. But anyways, before we really get into it, I just want to ask you real quick, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, please leave us a review and share this podcast with someone else you think might benefit. The reason I say that is because we don't take any sponsorship for the show. We don't really make any money off it, but we just want to give more value and get this information out on how we've scaled our agencies. And yeah, like I said, we don't really monetize it, so we'd just love it if you could take a minute to subscribe wherever you're listening, watching, and leave us a review. Okay, anyways, getting into it. Here's what we're talking about and why. So if you didn't already know, Outbound is an incredibly powerful marketing channel, especially for agencies. I've tried everything, right? And we do all the other stuff. We do organic. We're not doing paid currently, but we've done tons of paid acquisition as well. Events, speaking, podcasts, all that, right? And out of everything I've done to grow my business or to attempt to get leads, there's nothing that I've found or there's nothing that my team's tried that's more affordable to get started and more profitable than Outbound. It's just so cost effective, which is so helpful, especially if you're a small business, right? And it just also allows you to test ideas and test campaigns really fast, right? Test messaging, test niches, whatever it is, right? So it's really also very underestimated. I think a lot of people don't realize how many massive companies use Outbound as their core channel. I think after the internet, social media became popular, all the rage is, social media and becoming an influencer, growing an audience, or doing paid ads on Facebook or Google, right? That's kind of the popular stuff that you see a lot of people talking about. But what a lot of people don't realize is that before that all came out, Outbound was the only way that you could really proactively get clients, right? Online, before there was all this internet stuff, people were doing, companies had cold calling teams, telemarketing teams, people doing door to door, right? Direct mail, right? So this is really such an age old channel that still is, alive and thriving, still very popular, but a lot of people aren't talking about it anymore. It's very underestimated in a sense because there's all this buzz around all the other new tools and channels, right? But this is such a reliable, tried and tested channel. And think about it, if you look at Salesforce, the largest CRM company, they really grew off the back of having a huge team of SDRs doing outbound, right? And most SaaS tools that you might use, Zapier, Figma, HubSpot, even OpenAI, Canva, they all have outbound teams, right? And a lot of you guys might know Alex Ramosi. He tells a story in his book of how he found a gym software company that was doing $30 million a year with no ads, $30 million a year just doing outbound, just doing cold email. So this led him to use Outbound for gym launch, and he credits that Outbound saved his company during the pandemic when his ads stopped working, right? When, of course, if you didn't already know, he went on to sell that company for $46 million. So really, really powerful channel. It's so awesome, but it's gotten harder, right? And that's why I wanted to make this a specific walkthrough today and share these ideas because there's a lot of new software tools that help make it easier to find data and to get emails and to send emails, right? So because data is so easily accessible now and because it's so simple to get started launching outbound campaigns, that means that everyone's doing it, right? And look, there's at the same time, organic reach has gone down on social media. And with pay-per-click and Facebook ads getting more expensive, ad costs continue to rise over time. Our reach really is a more attractive channel than ever, but at the same time, your prospects are getting emailed more than ever because it's just gotten easier, right? So when a market or a specific marketing channel gets saturated, the solution is always going to be the same. Be different. Use it in a different way. And that's specifically what these ideas will help you with, right? So in terms of how to be different, in terms of how to stand out in outbound, the number one way to stand out in outbound today is through hyper-targeted, manually personalized emails, right? So like there's two things that cause manual outbound prospecting to work better, right? The thing is you're reaching the right person with a relevant offer. If you just take a general list and just blast out one email template to tens of thousands of people, you're sending your email to a lot of people that aren't actually really the right fit for your offer, right? But when you're doing manual prospecting, when you're actually like doing it, by hand, like how we would do it before there was all this automation, you can really pick every prospect and make sure they're the right fit and that they're actually going to want to hear about your offer, which makes your reply rates go up, right? The other thing about why manual and personalized outbound works better is because your messaging stands out, because prospects feel like they're talking to a real person. The biggest thing is when I'm looking at a client's cold email copy, I'm always trying to make sure, does this look like a human would send it, right? Because no one wants to talk to a bot, right? And as AI becomes more prevalent, we're gonna hate that even more, right? So your cold email will work way better when it feels more human, when it feels like a person actually wrote it and sent it, right? So with that said, the thing is, this takes a lot of time, right? And it takes a lot of money to hire people to do it at scale, right? Like, having tons of VAs or tons of SDRs, like it's going to be expensive, right? So we know that this works better. We just know that it's time and labor intensive to actually like write a very personalized research-based email, actually to spend 5-10 minutes researching a prospect and writing something specifically for them. It takes time and effort, right? But that's what Clay does, right? So Clay allows you to automate this personalized outbound at scale. It basically has a native AI agent that can scrape the web to find virtually any piece of data or information about a person or a company. So if you were going to sit there and research a prospect manually for 10 minutes, like whatever information you might try to find out about their business, which you would maybe call out in an email to them, you can now do that at scale, automated with Clay, right? Because it can just scan the web for basically any piece of data and give you that back for that prospect, right? Plus, it has an OpenAI integration built into it, so you can take that data and you can write personalized emails with it, right? So once your email is crafted, you can send it through tools like Instantly or Smartly to fire off at scale. But the whole part of finding the data and customizing your message, that can all be done with AI really, really well now using Clay. So quick example of a campaign I just launched with my Outbound agency. So of course, we use Outbound in cold email to get our own clients for our cold email and outbound services. So this just to give a quick use case of how this is actually applied. I just launched a campaign where we had a list of prospects, right? And we uploaded that into Clay. And then we used AI to find out like, what does this company do and who do they sell to, right? Because we had basically prompted the AI to say, hey, like go to their website and find their case studies and tell me who their target customers are, right? And then we got all this data, and this is how we were able to personalize the campaign and write a really, really high responsive campaign. Once we had all this data around what this company does, we also then used AI to customize our email template to reference that the bits of information we found after the AI did the research. So what that means is we had emails going out to these prospects, or we currently have this going out to the prospects, where we're basically saying in the email, hey, I saw that you sell this service to this target market, and here's how I think you can use our outbound lead generation services to get clients. And then it comes up with 3 bullet points of ideas on like, here's how we could target this job title for you, and here's how we could target this market with this offer. And this is all being like, this all would look like a person that spent 30 minutes to write it, but it's all done completely with AI, right? And in the next email, we're actually referencing their case studies. So we're having Clay pull off case studies from their site and actually mention, oh, hey, these are 3 case studies they have. These are 3 companies that they worked with, right? So in the second email, we're saying, hey, we can use cold email to get you more clients like X, Y, and Z, right? And we're actually referencing the case studies of this business that we're reaching out to, right? So as you can see, like just to actually bring this to life, this is what you could do with AI now, right? You can write these really, really personalized emails that would take a lot of time to write, but completely at scale with AI. I mean, there's a lot of tools for it, but Clay is like our go-to one, and that's kind of the most easily accessible one for most people, right? Because you don't need to be like a developer or anything. But that's cool, right? Like that's cool that we like that email would take 30 minutes to write, but now it's, we fired out a campaign to 4,000 leads in just minutes after we had built the workflow. So that's at least what it does. Now I'm going to share rapid fire other ideas for creative outbound campaigns you can use during AI. That's it. But like in a nutshell, if you can dream up a creative outreach campaign that would require like a lot of manual effort to build, Now you can replicate that with Clay. So that's really the summary, right? Anything that you would do that would take manual effort to, do an outreach campaign that would be really, really like compelling, you could just replicate that with Clay because of the automation and the AI. Anyways, rather than tell you what it can do, let me show you some potential campaigns and use cases. I'm going to run through 24 ideas that you can use to incorporate AI into your outbound, and I hope that gives you some inspiration for what's possible. So here's some potential use cases that are industry specific, right? And these are, again, either things I'm working on right now or for our clients, or things I'm thinking about, or things I've seen other people using this tool to launch some pretty wicked cool campaigns. So industry specific examples. If you're an e-com agency, if you're an agency that targets e-com businesses, you can actually use AI to scrape a Facebook ad a company's running. You can even then have GPT rewrite a better ad. So imagine that. Imagine you email 1,000 e-commerce brands and you say, hey, I saw that you have this Facebook ad. And then you have GPT rewrite a better version of that ad, right? So just giving free value, like all completely using AI, right? And then you can show them how, obviously, you can help improve their ads with better copy and all that. So that would work really well if you were a copywriter for any niche, or if you were an e-commerce ad, right? E-commerce agency. And again, try to understand the thought process here. I'm just trying to show you like what's possible, right? And how, different businesses are using this. But you can apply that same line of thinking to anything, right? So again, if you're a copywriter for any niche, right, you could find someone's copy, find like an email or a sales letter or a landing page on their website, and have mention that in your email, as well as rewrite a better version of it using whatever your frameworks are. Just as an example, right? So Eric Nozowski, always have a hard time pronouncing his name, but he's one of the most one of the biggest proponents of Clay and one of their first employees. He runs an outbound agency called Growth Engine X. He did a really cool campaign where he actually calculated the average order value of a Shopify store by having AI search the web and scan their Google Shopping. And then he basically found their best-selling products and then made an estimate for your average order value. So he was able to make an email where it was like, hey, I saw that you sell this product and this product, and I'm guessing that your average order value is, $50. Well, if we could help you increase your conversions on, X, Y, and Z, that could mean this much revenue for you each year, because he also even pulled their website data. Crazy cool, right? These are things that would take probably an hour for an appointment setter or a VA to do. These are emails that are going to way stand out, because how often do you get an email or a LinkedIn message that someone actually took the time to research your business to that level of depth? Never, right? So I thought that was a really cool use case, pulling the website traffic, pulling the average order value, and just showing we can help you make this much revenue. So all these calculations were done with AI. So it's wicked cool. So that's an example, or a couple examples for an e-com agency. Now let's take another industry. Let's look at accounting or bookkeeping. If I was in accounting or bookkeeping, how I would use AI is I would prompt the AI to search the company on LinkedIn to see if they currently have a CFO or bookkeeper or accountant. And if they don't, I'd mention this in the email, because then instead of just saying a generic email like, hey, we can help you with our bookkeeping services, now you could say, hey, I'm reaching out because I saw that you didn't have a CFO, so maybe you're struggling to do your books. Would you like us to help, or would you like us to give you a free financial audit, right? That's why the personalized email is going to look a lot better, because it just seems more relevant, and it seems less just like a random email sent out to thousands of people, right? It basically, when you can make it feel like you have a legitimate reason for reaching out in your outbound, it's going to work a lot better. I use this specifically in one of our campaigns in a different way. So because we sell lead gen services and we help companies get leads and book appointments through Outbound, I prompted the AI in Clay to go look on LinkedIn and just see if this company had a sales team or not. Just by looking at, do they have job titles with sales or AE or SDR in it, right? And if they didn't have any job titles in sales, I'd put them in a different campaign where we would reference that and we would cater the value proposition towards that, right? So we had 2 cold email campaigns. One was for companies that didn't have salespeople. One was for companies that did. And then we just altered the value proposition, right? So if the client or if the prospect didn't have salespeople, we would say, hey, I see that you don't have salespeople. I'm guessing that maybe you don't really have a lot of time to work on outbound campaigns, or maybe, your pipeline's pretty bare, so we can come in and help, right? It was worded better than that, but something along those lines. And if they did have salespeople, we would change the value proposition to saying, hey, I looked on LinkedIn, I saw you had, this many salespeople. Usually I find most companies at your stage are always trying to find more avenues to bring in calls for their salespeople so that they're not sitting there, only busy half the day, right? So now we're able to, in that example, we're catering the value proposition based on data we find about the company, right? So I hope you're starting to see how this can be used, and I hope it's getting your brain going, because I think it's super cool. And we consistently see these campaigns just perform better, right? So again, these are all things that would take a lot of time to research manually. And before AI was here, before there was much in terms of automation, like 5-6 years ago, people would just have teams of 20, 30 salespeople like doing this research by hand, and then they spend most of their day doing research and list building, and very little of their time actually like emailing prospects or calling people or doing calls, right? So yeah, like if you already have a sales team doing this stuff, just think about how much time and money you can save just by automating it. Here's another idea. Imagine you're an SEO or web agency. You can have Clay and AI scrape the company's website and research them on SimilarWeb to actually look at their web traffic, and then you can have GPT write an email pointing out metrics they can improve. Now, I actually had an SEO agency and link building client. We did this for maybe 3 years ago, and we did this manually, right? We had the VA literally taking every website in the target market, and the VA would basically fill out a spreadsheet by copying and pasting the company's website into SimilarWeb, looking up their traffic, and then they would handwrite each email saying, "Oh, I saw you have this much traffic, and a lot of your competitors have this much traffic. We can help you improve this," right? So we were paying a VA full time to do this all day, and now it's just you can build an AI workflow once and just have GPT do it, right? So that could be a cool use case for an SEO or web agency, or really any kind of agency where you help people improve their website traffic. You could pull the SimilarWeb results in one place. Now, let's say that you're a business consulting firm. You can check if the company is hiring for roles and pull job description data. So again, this is just one example, right? But if I was a business consulting firm, which I mean we are for sales and lead gen, whatever kind of consulting you do, you could check if the company is hiring for roles in the area that you help with, because there's databases that pull this for you, right? There's databases even within Clay that can check like LinkedIn, or they can check Indeed, and they can check if the company is currently hiring for any roles, right? And then you can get all the information around like what is the job description, what do they say there, right? So you can check if the company is hiring for roles, pull job description data, and then you can have GPT analyze the job description to infer the current company goals and mention how your services align with these initiatives, right? So you could literally say, hey, pull the job description from the company, from the roles they're hiring for, and then tell me what you think the company's priorities are based on these job descriptions. Like, why are they trying to hire these people, right? And then you can tie that into, okay, how our service aligns with those company goals. So this is going to be a much, much better cold email than just saying, hey, we can help you with business consulting. We can help you with your finances. We can help you with your marketing, whatever it is. You can actually say, hey, I saw you're hiring for these roles. It seems like you're trying to maybe accomplish this, and this. We can help you do exactly that through this service, right? So that could be an example for business consulting. Just look for where they're hiring and where they're trying to, improve in their business, right? Now, if you're a lead generation and sales agency, I kind of shared this before because we're running a campaign like this right now, but you can scrape the website info and you can have GPT analyze it to determine their ideal client. So this is what we did, right? We had a list of prospects and we had Clay and, the GPT integration analyze the website to tell us, who was their ideal client, and we would call that out in the email. So rather than saying, hey, we can help you get clients, we can say, hey, we can help you get manufacturing businesses for this service that you offer, right? If it just in that example. So you can reference specifically. So then here it's about like, okay, now instead of just saying, hey, I can offer the service, it's like, hey, I can help you offer the service, which is going to help you do this specific thing in your business that I know is important to you, right? So much, much better than just a generic email. Now, let's say that you're a SaaS tool. So onto another example. You can find technologies a company's using with built with, and you can have AI check which tools you integrate with and reference this in your message. So if you know that, so one of our clients has a SaaS tool that listens to recorded sales calls, right? And make sure that they're compliant, make sure that like the sales reps aren't saying anything that's uncompliant or overpromising. So we know that, our client's SaaS tool that plugs into sales recordings, we know which calling softwares it integrates with, right? So we could launch a campaign where we go after companies that use Gong, right, for their call recordings and their sales enablement, or any of the other like cloud calling softwares, right? And then we could say, hey, I saw that you use this tool. We integrate with this, and we can help plug into it to make it work better in these ways, right? So that's going to be relevant for a lot of SaaS companies. Because there's ways where you can build with is a tool that some of you might know. Build with is a database that can tell you what companies are using a certain software tool, and when you're using AI and Clay, it can integrate with tools like build with and then get all this information for you in one place. So that's pretty cool option as well. And that can be used, again, it's not even just about SaaS tools. I mean, it's a great use case for SaaS tools. Any tool that you integrate with, definitely reach out to their customers, right? I mentioned this in the copy, right? So that's a great use case for SaaS tools, but anytime there's a technology that your prospects use, like let's say you're a sales consultant, right? And you work with companies that use HubSpot, you can build a list of companies using HubSpot and have and mention that in your message, right? So of course that's going to be very effective. So it works with any kind of use case, really. Any use case where the technology would have to be connected to the person's website, this will work, because otherwise you don't, like these tools like BuildWith, they pretty much look at the page source of the website and they see if there's like a software installed on it, right? So it has to be something that's related to the website. But anyways, yeah, I saw an outbound agency recently breaking down a campaign where they were targeting companies that had their competitor's software installed in their website instead of theirs. And then they reach out to these people just with the value proposition of, hey, here's, some problems that we see that this other software has that you're using now. And here's, how we fill in those gaps, right? So they were basically launching campaigns to target the weaknesses of their competitor, and targeting companies that already were using that competitor. So really, really cool, sneaky campaign there. So another example would be a social media agency. Let's say that you help people with social media, content creation. You can have AI find something about the company's online presence that you can reference and show them how to improve. So let's say you can call out what is their follower count on a certain channel, or how frequent do they post, right? Back to Eric Nozowski, which I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong, but it's a long, complicated name. He was sharing an example of how he helped a LinkedIn posting software. I believe it was Taplio. So he was running an outbound campaign for the LinkedIn software, and he had AI, pull all the social media data from all these prospects and say, how long ago was it since they last posted? And anyone who hasn't posted in 7 days, he would reach out to them with an outbound campaign saying, hey, I saw you haven't posted in 7 days. Would you like to use our tool to schedule it so that you don't, miss a day or miss a week with your posting, right? And he said that it was like their best performing campaign out of everything they tested. So really, really personalized campaigns are always going to perform better, because you seem less like a random person and more like someone who had a thoughtful reason to reach out and provide value to the business, right? Other examples. So a real estate firm selling investment property. You could analyze recent acquisitions or properties in the prospect's portfolio, and you can call this out in their email, right? So if you're trying to sell property or any kind of investment, you can reach out to companies that invest in that vehicle, and you can have AI scan their website for any like articles or announcements they made about recent investments they've made. You can call that out, and you can say, hey, like we have some similar deals that align with what you just invested in, right? Really, really relevant email, and it's going to show that you did your research. Now, let's say that you're reaching out let's say you're trying to raise funds or you're trying to raise capital for your business. You could run an outbound campaign reaching out to VCs, venture capital firms, doing the same thing. Have AI scan like their investments and what they've posted about and what their portfolio looks like. And it can analyze like what kind of connection there is between what they invest in and how that fits into your company you're trying to raise funds for, right? So the same type of strategy could work if you're trying to raise funds. Now, let's say that you're an insurance business, right? Or you're running a campaign for an insurance business, if you actually are an agency like ours. AI can suggest the most common risks to the prospect's industry or business model and highlight how you can cover those risks. So you could say, hey AI, tell me what industry this prospect's in. Okay, they're in construction. What are the most common risks to that prospect's industry that they would need insurance for, right? And then you could say, get like a summary or like a 2-sentence description out of it and include that in the email, right? So then rather than reaching out to a bunch of businesses saying, hey, do you need insurance? You can say, hey, you're in this industry, and a lot of our clients in this industry typically use our insurance plans to protect them from these 2 to 3 common risks, right? That's going to be a lot better, right? So really, really customized emails are much easier to do than you would think. Again, you just spend half a day, learn Clay, and you can do some of this stuff on your own. Last industry-specific example before I cover a couple of general use cases is event planning. So now I haven't had an event planning client. This is just one I randomly thought of when I was just trying to drum up some cool ideas for this episode today. So if I was an event planning business, how I would use Clay and AI to run some really cool targeted outbound campaigns is I would target HR departments and I would send them emails with personalized event management solutions based on the type of events they organize. So if I see that this company does conferences or they do team building retreats or whatever it was, or workshops or dinners, I could find this because I could prompt AI to go check their social media, right, for like previous events. And then I could say, hey, we can help you with running those events or whatever it is, right? Or even better, I could just pitch tailored event ideas by referencing the prospect's past events or just industry trends that like would be relevant to them, right? So remember before at the beginning of this, I mentioned a campaign I'm running for my business right now where we're basically having AI like analyze each lead and say, hey, like who do they sell to? Like who's their target market? What do they offer? And then we're having AI again take that information and then suggest 3 types of cold email campaigns we could run for them based on their target market and based on what they sell. So that's kind of the same thought process with the event planning campaign here, right? So we're just saying, hey, like tell me who they sell to, tell me what they do, and then I'm going to reach out to them and suggest 3 types of cool events they could run, right? So yeah, really awesome idea there, I think. I think any type of service, like if you offer a service that your clients use in different ways, right? Like rather than like a very static thing like bookkeeping. So like any marketing service, for example, right? Your clients might use it for different purposes or different ways, right? Any kind of service where your clients have to use it in a creative way and it's not the same cookie cutter thing every time, this type of creative ideas campaign works really well. And I'm not going to take credit for this. I got this originally from also Eric and just launched some campaigns on our own. But yeah, it's that cool, right? Like you can actually have AI analyze what a company does and then have AI suggest ideas on how that company could use your service, right? So you give AI information about this company, you give AI information about your offer, and you say, hey, come up with ideas for this person based on my offer and based on what they do, right? So that can be used in a lot of different use cases. So those are a couple of industry specific use cases I came up with, or things we're also working on right now for some of our clients. I hope that gives you some cool ideas. Last thing, I'm just going to reference a couple of general use cases for AI in outreach that can be applicable to any industry really. So this should also help spark some ideas for your own campaigns as well. First, you can customize your value proposition based on what the company does. Kind of shared a few examples of this, but basically you can say, hey, like here's my value proposition. I want you to customize it in every email I send out based on the description of this company you're reaching out to, right? So then you're going to have, of course, that very catered, personalized outreach message where it actually feels more like, okay, I can help this person, right? Rather than just a random templated email. You can also run trigger-based campaigns based on content, right? So we do this a lot because it stands out. I remember the first time I saw this, I thought it was really cool. I remember someone reached out to me to promote their SaaS tool like a year ago. And this is when Clay first came out, or at least when I, at least started getting popular. Someone reached out to me and I posted something about how I met Sam Ovens and had a long conversation with him. And then I got an email like the next day and it was like, oh, I just saw like that you met Sam Ovens. That was a really cool post. I really liked, this about it. And then they went on to pitch their SaaS tool. And I took a meeting with them. And I mostly took a meeting because I was just trying to figure out like, how did you automate that email? So that was mostly why I took the meeting. But I thought it was pretty cool. And now I see this a little bit more often. But yeah, you can have AI analyze the recent LinkedIn post of a person you're reaching out to before you reach out to them and then comment on it, right? And it just shows like that, you're a real person and you're taking some time to look up who they are, right? Which people appreciate. This also really strokes people's ego. If you compliment someone on a podcast they were featured on, which is another one, right? You can have AI scan the web for, has this person been featured in a podcast recently? And you can call it out. If you want to even really get fancy, you can even have AI actually pull a quote from the actual podcast and insert it into your email template. Most podcasts, usually they do show notes, right? Where they like transcribe it. And even if not, you could even go like super fancy and have AI transcribe it for you. But most podcasts usually do show notes. So you could say, hey, AI, go find if this person's been featured on a podcast recently. If they have, I want you to find the show notes and then pull a quote from them for me, right? And then you can actually mention that in your cold email. Again, all automated. None of this is done manually, right? So that would be really cool. But if you can do any campaigns like this where you, or even just any manual outreach in general, whenever you call out something like someone's been featured here on a podcast, on a blog, on a YouTube channel, whatever it is, or you just compliment them on a recent post that you liked, not only is it going to show you did your research, it's also going to really, really stroke their ego, right? Because everyone's going to feel like good about that. They're doing that because they want to show off, right? So People are usually typically proud of those things. I know if someone reaches out to me, it strokes my ego. So definitely a really good one. Or also press, right? If you see they've gotten any PR, if their company's been mentioned in the news, or they just got an article written about them, then that's going to be a great thing to highlight as well. Another cool general use case is revenue-based projection pitches. So this is the example I mentioned before from Eric, where he was basically calculating how much revenue they can make for a company from their service by calculating their average order value from their e-commerce store and showing like, oh, if we can help you increase your conversions 5%, this is how much money you could make, right? So that's a really cool one. That works if you're some sort of agency that helps people with revenue growth and sales, and you have like a way to do that where you can tie it into some data you can find online, like how much they sell their product for, right? Another one is, this is an easy one, is you can clean up and normalize company names and job titles. So normally if you go to Apollo and you get a list of companies to reach out to and prospect, it's going to have like LLC, it's going to have Inc. In their name. So you can have just, simple use cases. You can have AI just to clean up data so that it doesn't look weird when you mention that. You can also use AI to check if a business is B2B or B2C, right? So if you're already doing outbound, you know that it's sometimes hard to find certain business types, right? So for example, there's no filter in LinkedIn or Apollo for if a company's B2B or B2C, right? There's like industries that are more likely to be B2B or B2C, but you don't actually know. And if you only target, D2C brands, or if you only target B2B companies, you want to know this, right? Because otherwise, every time you reach out to someone who's not in your target market on accident, there's a chance that you get marked as spam, right? Because you're reaching out to someone that has nothing to do with your business. That's usually going to often annoy people, right? So you can you can just verify that everyone you're reaching out to fits your ICP by just giving, a lot of different ways, right? You can either give ChatGPT your ICP. You're doing this in Clay, but the point is it's ChatGPT doing it for you because it integrates with Clay. But you could give ChatGPT your ICP and say, hey, verify that this company on this list fits my ICP, right? Fits my ideal client. Or you could do it for a specific use case. So you could say, hey, tell me if this is B2B or B2C, or even the business type, right? So another problem is if you target SaaS companies, that's a hard one to find because, like, let's say that there's like a payment processing company. They might list themselves as a financial services businesses online or on LinkedIn, right? But really they're a software company, right? So many SaaS companies or software companies aren't going to classify themselves as in the computer software industry, which is how it's categorized on LinkedIn when you're building a list. So it can be really hard. Basically, if you're targeting SaaS businesses, it's really hard to know if they're SaaS. So you could just use AI and Clay just to verify every lead on your list and say, hey, return me, true if this is actually a software business, right? So that's another example. I was also talking to a prospect recently who they have the problem of they target franchisees. So they have a hard time doing outbound campaigns because most of the times they'll get people from a company that's actually they're actually a franchisee, but they want to reach the owner of the franchise, right? So there's really no good way to do that with most tools. So they can use Clay to just actually do the research, look up each prospect and say, hey, are they actually the owner or are they just someone that works in the franchise, right? So if you work in a very obscure niche where it's kind of hard to find your ideal client, you can use Clay to help you find these people and also help you just verify that you're reaching out to someone who's a good fit for your offer. Other examples, let's keep going. Scrape website info. So you can pick out a recent customer from case studies or testimonials and compliment them on their result. I mentioned this earlier. I mentioned how we're running a campaign where we actually had AI scrape the person's website and mention a case study, mention the company name of someone they helped. And in our case, because we help our clients grow and get leads, we were able to use that by saying hey, we can help you get more clients like X, Y, and Z, right? But you could use that other ways too. You could just use it as a compliment. You could say, hey, I saw that case study where you helped this person accomplish this. That was so cool, right? So you could actually analyze the case study as well. Or if the company has some really big logos, let's say they worked for Amazon, and Amazon was a client of theirs, you could compliment them on that in their email as well, right? And stroke their ego a bit. Decision maker search. This is a really cool one, a use case that's applicable to everyone. So one email that's been working really well for our campaigns, for our clients, is asking if we should talk to someone else. So we typically use this as email 3 or 4 in our email campaigns. If someone hasn't replied, we'll just send them an email saying, hey, is there someone else in your company I should talk to about X, Y, Z? And often we get a good reply from that. So now we're using AI to take this a step further. And we're saying, hey, AI, go to this person's website, go to their employees on LinkedIn, and try to find me someone else who works in the marketing department who's a decision maker, right? Just an example for us, but whatever department, like whatever your point of contact is, whatever the job title is of the people you sell to, you could just prompt it with that, right? But the whole idea is, in our case, we'd say, hey, rather than just saying like, is there someone else at your company I should talk to? We can actually call someone out. So we would say, hey, should I reach out to your VP of sales, Christian, instead? Much, much better. Looks a lot more personalized, right? So that's as simple as just prompting AI and Clay to say, hey, go to their LinkedIn and find me another employee who works in sales, in management, and just give me their name. Simple as that, right? You can also summarize the company's focus, meaning you could just say, start an email. This is good for a first line, starting an email with, hey, I saw that you're focused on X, Y, and Z, so I thought that this would be useful for you. Simple as that. That's as simple as just giving the company description to ChatGPT and just having it like summarize what the company does, right? But that's just a nice, if you don't have anything better, that's just a nice, easy way to start an email with a personalized first line, right? You can also mention a competitor. So you can have AI search and try to find another. This works really well for local businesses, right? If I'm targeting restaurants, I could, build an outbound campaign where I get a bunch of restaurants in New York City. And then I could have AI look for like another popular restaurant in a, like maybe within 5 or 10 miles of the company I'm reaching out to, and then call that out in the email copy, right? And you could say whatever. Let's say I'm a restaurant marketing agency. I could say, hey, we can help you grow bigger than, XYZ down the block, whatever it is, right? So that's a really cool campaign that would work. I mean, that could work for any business, but I think for local, it's even more relevant because people will be likely to know someone in their area and be impressed that you did that research, right? Google reviews is another one. I know a lot of people were doing manual personalization for this a while ago before, AI was so big, but you can just basically prompt AI to check out how many reviews they have on Google, and that could be a compliment. That could be a PS line like, hey, PS, congrats on the 4.9 stars on Google. Just sometimes like you can just do personalization just to show that you personalized and that you're a human, right? So the best personalization is when you can actually reference something that's relevant and ties into your offer. So what I mentioned before, like examples like, customizing the value proposition based on what the company does, that's a really relevant way to use personalization because it actually fits into like your sales pitch, right? But if you don't really have something that fits into your pitch, you could just personalize for the sake of personalizing, and at least then it does the job of showing that you did your homework and you're a real person, because people are always going to be more likely to respond if they feel like you're a real person and you spend 5 minutes out of your day to research them and write them an email, right? So it's always better if you can find personalization use cases for AI where it ties into your value proposition, because then it seems less random. But if you don't have any good examples for that, you can just use something generic. At least it kind of shows that, hey, this person researched me, right? Another one is you can group all of your leads into different buckets based on their persona. So let's say that you sell to CMOs, marketing managers, and CEOs, right? As an example. Well, all three of those different job titles care about different things. And the old way of doing outbound is you would just send the same email template to all of them, right? But if all these three people care about different things, they have different KPIs they care about, they have different goals, well, then it's not really going to be very effective to send everyone the same email, because then you have to kind of water down the email and make it generic enough where it applies to everyone. And you know how the old adage goes, if you're speaking to everyone in marketing, you're speaking to no one, right? So in this case, you could have Clay group your leads into different buckets based on their job title, and then you can have a different email template for each, right? So really, really easy to do with Clay. And then you're sending each person a very relevant email, a relevant value proposition that's catered towards their specific role and what kind of goals or priorities they might have. Okay, cool. Well, I didn't know this was going to go that long, but I hope you enjoyed this and found it valuable. I have all this on a document here listed out, so I'm guessing, especially if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're probably not sitting down taking notes. But if you actually want to get the document where I listed out all these ideas, this can be something that you just save, and next time you're launching an outbound campaign and doing some lead gen, you can just use this to get inspiration for ideas and come up with ideas for your own niche. But yeah, if you want the document, just let me know. If you're listening on the podcast, just shoot me an email. My information's below. And if you're watching this on YouTube or somewhere else, then just comment below. I'll get you the document. But I hope you enjoyed this, and really just like what I want you to know is the possibilities are endless, right? Everything above that I shared can be fully automated with Clay. All of these campaign ideas are just ideas that would work very well, get a much higher response rate than a traditional outbound campaign. And there are things that, normally people would spend 10, 20 minutes to write every single email for every single prospect, right? So the next big thing is here for outbound. That's really what I see this as. And this is it. So if you're doing outbound for yourself to get clients and grow, if you're an agency that does outbound campaigns for others, or just any kind of marketing agency, you can incorporate this into your services, and it's really, really awesome. So if you're leveraging AI in your outreach currently, I'd love to hear from you. Like what cool campaigns or use cases or results you're getting. I love looking at what other people have done because it gives me more ideas. So if you're currently using Clay or AI in your outreach or lead gen, I would love to hear from you. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough, and I'll see you on the next one.